the pain is, the hurt is still real to this day. It's been many moons, but it's still relevant. Excuse me. And so I took her by the hand and I sat down beside her and I started telling her, Mom, I'm sorry for not being the son that you wanted. I'm sorry for, just giving you all these trouble over the years and yada, yada, yada. I went through a 10-minute apology session. My mom, hoping she would wake up, right? But she never did. She never woke up. But what she did was, as I was holding her hand, I look at her and she had a tear roll down her face. As I was talking to her, I saw this tear roll down her face, and I could have sworn she gripped my hand. You can't, to this day, you can't convince me that she didn't grip my hand. And she, she dropped that tear. She gripped my hand, at least I thought she did. And so at that point, I was satisfied for whatever reason. I called everybody else back in the room and we kind of just went on. And I had my dad pray, Rodney's dad, to pray, Walter. And we prayed, and I was like, okay. After he prayed, I was like, yeah, she's gonna be good. She's gonna be good. So I go back to Charlotte, and I get a phone call later that night. My brother, this is like 3 a.m, and he calls me and he says, "You need to call the hospital and see what's going on with Mom." I said, okay. So I called the hospital, and my mother's room is right beside the nurse station. So when that phone rings, you can hear everything, right? So I called the hospital, and they answer, or somebody answers, but I can hear them working on her, trying to resuscitate her. She went into septic shock, and she coded. And for everybody who's listening, if you've never heard a flatline, that's the loudest noise you'll ever hear. And it rings and it stays in your ear and your spirit and your psyche for a long time. If you've never heard a flatline, and it's one thing to hear a flatline, it's another thing to hear a flatline on someone that you love, who gave you life. And I'm on the phone with this nurse, and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And she was telling me, she was like, she coded. She has an infection. They don't know where it is. And, all that. And that flatline came, and I heard it. And I hear the doc in the back. He called it. You guys watch enough medical shows and know when I say when he called it. He called it. He was like, TOD. And I remember losing every little bit of sensibility that I had over this phone. So I hang up. I call my brother. I say, bro, Mom's gone. And he loses it. My brother he just loses it. He was just one of those dudes. He was emotional, just like me, but I try to keep my composure. And, so drove back down, and, he actually got that together before me. He took a picture of my mother. I'm glad I didn't keep it. I couldn't do it, but he took a picture of Mom, before they covered her up, And, he said to me, I was like, why would you send me that? But what I realized is that was a reminder that I got to say goodbye. And that did something to me, changed my life. People, men, ladies, if you got beef with your mother, your father, listen, let that go. That's the first step in this. That's the first step in the comeback after you have done all this nonsense. First thing you need to do is let people go. Let the grudge go. Let the hate go. Let it go. Because I can tell you right off the bat that there's nothing in this life more final than when that casket closed for the last time. My mother's funeral was a beautiful service. We got to the funeral home. Everybody held their composure up until the time they closed the casket. At the end of the service, because it was an open casket. When they closed that casket for the last time, that's when everybody in the church lost it, including myself and my brother. Because you can't, what's closed, you can't reopen it and say, come back, mama, da. We went to the burial site and she had her casket and we put the casket in a vault and put the whole vault in the ground, And so they had the vault across the street at the church and the grave was across the street. So we had the burial ceremony at the church at the vault. There's nothing like it. There's not a thing like it. That first step, that thing in my life, that coming to that come to Jesus moment, is what helped me get back on track. Don't let it take something as tragic as losing your mother or your father or whoever your mentor is in your life, your father figure and mother figure is in your life. Don't let it take losing them for you to get it back on track. You have every chance, every opportunity right now to get things back on track for yourself. But it's just for me, in my knucklehead ways, losing my mother was the first thing to help me. Emotionally, not when I was going through it, but later on, that's when it, all of that. I didn't know, you got that, you don't know how strong you are until being strong is all you have left. That's kind of that, all of that. And saying goodbye to my mother was the hardest thing to do. The hardest thing to do. But it molded me. Losing her molded me and shaped me into being a better man. It still took a few years to see the manifestation of the work. But losing her was traumatic. And even still, she's been gone since 2007, 12 years ago. We'll be 12 years in June. Was it 12? 2007. Yeah. 12 years ago in June. And it still hurts. Still. When I go home, which I haven't been home since last April, but when I go home, the first stop that I make is to her grave. And it's just a reminder. It's just a place. For me, it's a piece of solace. It's a place of solace for me. I'll take, next time I go home, take a chair out there and just sit. But by the time I go back out there, I'll be married, and again, but, she won't get to, I look at my son who's 2, will be 2, next month. And I look at him and I go, you never get to meet your grandmother. Which she loved her grandkids. You know, my brother had 3. So she loved her grandkids. So she never got to meet TJ, you know, so that's hard for me. But sometimes we'll catch TJ off in the corner and he's laughing, you know, just no rhyme or reason, not looking at TV, not, you know, and he's laughing. And we was like, what is he laughing at? You know? So we all assume that the spirit of my mother is laughing with him or making him laugh. That's right. That's the reason why he's laughing. And it gives me great joy to see that. I love to see him giggle over in the corner all by himself. You know, he'll do it at night. Like when we're in the bed, 'cause he sleeps with me and Melissa. So he'll get in the bed with us and he'll sit there. He'll stay off in the space. And all of a sudden he just busts out laughing. That I really believe it's my mother, you know, and that's what I go with. Even if it's scientifically wrong, that's what I go with. But seriously, the first step, you guys, in this comeback game, this is how you stay out of knucklehead status. Take care of the ones you have in your life. Be true to them. Be real with them. Stop lying to people. Stay in your lane. Keep it 100. Keep it 100. Find you. Find your peace. Find your joy. That's how you stay out of knucklehead status. The only time that people get into knucklehead status is when we're confused, lost, dazed, or hurt. So stay out of that particular genre and you'll be just fine. You don't have to hurt all the time. You know, you don't have to. Find your peace, find your joy. Like Pastor Felix says, believe big again. Sometimes we lose our way because whatever dream we had, we lost it. Right? So believe big again. Let's get to a place where we're believing again. All right? So I'm going to get out of here. Today is, like I said, just Friday, TGIF. Again, you guys, hope you have a blessed weekend. Before I go, as always, if you want to follow me on my personal Facebook page, you can follow me at facebook.com/BullsFan40. That's my personal page, you guys. If you want to follow the page's group, the group's page is facebook.com/TheCommonSenseShowTV. A couple things that are coming up this Sunday coming. I'm going to be interviewing Calvin Brown from Chicago on the show at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're going to talk about how can you handle your significant other being friends with the opposite sex. That's going to be the topic on Sunday. February 28th, I'm going to be on Live Masters with Susan Day, doing an interview with her. The book is being written. So you guys stay tuned. I got a lot of things popping off. Also, fellas, if you're listening to this podcast, I am also I run, not so much as these days, but I run a great group called Perry Dudes on Periscope, which is the brothers to the Perry Girls. So if you're familiar with Perry Girls on Periscope, Joanne, Rice Girl, and all those guys over there, Perry Dudes is the brothers of that group. And we're currently in the business of remodeling and rebuilding that group to help other men get to another place in life. So if you know of any good men, send them on through. We'll take them on facebook.com/Perry Dudes. All right, it's going to be the website for that. What else am I missing here? I think that's it. So I'm gonna shut this podcast down. You guys have a great weekend. Be blessed, and you guys will hear from me again on Monday. All right, peace.